Hello and welcome to my series of podcasts about people with purpose. And on today's episode, I'm joined by James Dand. Now, James is the UK's leading empowerment songwriter. Now, you might not know what that means, but I'm sure we're all going to find out. But he basically writes music specifically for personal development and to sort of help people find their potential, which is it's amazing sort of story that he's going to share with us in a short while. He's had literally 2 decades of experience from working as a university lecturer. He's been a coach, a speaker, and he's also contributed to a best-selling book as well. So, he's amazing sort of experience. He's even been commissioned to create music for multi-million dollar companies, best-selling authors, and even other speakers as well. And it's all through his transformational music and a combination of coaching and training as well. So I'm really, really pumped that James has joined us today. He's going to give us a bit of an insight into his journey and his very unique use of music. In his words, is all about creating a positive impact on the world. So, James, I really appreciate you coming on today. I've really been looking forward to this one. So, how are you?
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I'm amazing. Yeah, thank you, Graham.
I always get comments about that. You sort of, when you hear back somebody saying about you, it's quite an interesting experience. You'll think, oh really, I'm that interesting, really. But
and do you know what the interesting thing is, and here's a golden nugget straight away for any listeners. If you're listening to some of the achievements that you've done and the successes you've had, and it makes you feel a little bit uneasy, that can be indicative of something in your mindset that you don't really want, because sometimes what we do is we don't actually accept the successes we have. We tend to focus on the negative, focus on the failures, and I was doing that for years, low self-esteem. So what I try to do now is when I'm hearing those things back, I just try to say, yeah, I accept that. I've done well at that. Thank you ever so much. But it's still, sometimes a challenge.
That's great advice, and we've not even sort of started properly yet. So that's just brilliant. So thanks for that, James. So I guess we'll, without sort of further ado, it's really a case of you telling us about your story, your journey, how you got into music, your use of empowerment songs. I think it's really fascinating. So take it away, James. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Thank you. Well, I could, of course, go back to when I was younger and I was playing my tennis racket guitar in front of the mirror to the Who albums. But really, I suppose the story sort of starts with the fact that I was in a band quite a few years ago now, about 15 years ago. I was in a band and we were really, or certainly I was really trying to push it. I had this dream, I wanted to make it. And like a lot of good things, it came to an end. And at that point, I sort of said, okay, the dream is over. So I went into that normal job. I was looking to move out with who's now my wife, and talking about getting a family together. So for years I'm sort of going by, and I'd actually reached a manager's position. So on paper it was looking like I was doing okay. Sure. But I was becoming more and more unfulfilled and just feeling more and more trapped and unhappy, and it was sort of affecting everything really. It was affecting the relationship between myself and my wife, and I got to that point where I knew I needed to make a change, but I didn't quite know what to do. And I've got a background actually in the fitness industry and sports science. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll get back into that fitness industry. So I booked myself up onto a course, which was a holistic lifestyle coaching course. And I remember now I'm at that course, day one of the course, and I'm sitting at the back of the room, and I open up the training manual and I come across a question that changes my life. And that question reads, if you were to die today, would you die knowing that you have lived your life fully? And that's a big question.
It is a big question.
It certainly got me thinking, if you were to die today, would you die knowing that you've lived your life fully? And for me, it was a resounding no. And what I did was, at the end of that day, I went and had a chat to the instructor. And I said, I'm at this situation where I know I want to make some changes, but I don't quite know what to do. I'm really into the music. I love songwriting. And through chatting to her, she basically said, you've got to be doing music in some capacity, not necessarily as a job, but you've got to be doing it because that's where your heart is. That's, you know, it's in your DNA. That's what lights you up. And it was as if she'd given me permission. And all of a sudden, it's like a little light bulb went off. And I thought, maybe I could, maybe I should be. You know, all this time, I suppose I've been suppressing it. And all it really took was that question and that conversation with her to get me thinking. And at the end of the course, it was a few day course. And then I went home and I chatted with my wife and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to step down from my manager's position. I want to cut down my hours of work. And I want to pursue songwriting. And that's what I did. And to start with, I was looking to just kind of go through the main music industry as a songwriter. You know, obviously the dream is you write your songs for the, you know, I don't know, the Robbie Williams of this world, and then you get all the royalties and, you know, live a very luxurious life. You know, that's sort of the dream. But I didn't necessarily fully have a plan. And what I then was finding was, even though I was now pursuing what I loved, which was writing music, even then I just felt, okay, something's not quite fully ticking all the boxes. And I had basically gone through a journey, and this is what helped me make those decisions, because I was into personal development. And I'd realized, you know, when I was sitting at that course, I'd realized that it'd been my own mindset that had been holding me back. You know, that little voice in my mind that was saying, you're not good enough, James. It's, you know, you're not going to make it. You're not worthy, deserving enough. You know, all that little mind chatter that I'm sure everyone has experienced at some point in their life. So I'd been working on my mindset, and I thought, okay, well, when I write songs, I write, you know, the best songs I write are the ones that, again, come from the heart. It's the songs that I can connect with. So I thought, well, I want to write music with this empowerment theme, songs to do with personal development, songs about following your heart, songs about you are good enough, overcoming your fears, being courageous, all those things. And I thought, well, maybe other people want to hear that as well. Maybe people would resonate with that. It's like if you get a motivational quote, you know, I'm not saying they're the be all and end all, but sometimes you can read one motivational quote and again, it just changes the direction of your life. So that was what I went into, and that is what I call empowerment songwriting, which is music with a personal development theme that, you know, when you listen to it, it can change your mindset, inspire you, motivate you, and empower you.
Amazing. I mean, you said it yourself, that a small quote or a word or a song for you, that question on that day, that was what changed that direction. And what you've done is developed music and songwriting to do the same thing. And I think that's just fascinating. I mean, you say that you were in a band, and just out of interest, what sort of music was it?
We're actually like a 1960s based band. So if you know, like the mod bands of the 1960s,
Yeah.
we're all sort of into that. I mean, I like, you know, various styles of music, whole range of styles of music. But at that time, yeah, we used to dress up in the suits, and we were a mod band.
That's brilliant. I love that. That's excellent. I mean, going back to that beginning and that conversation you had, you know, with the lecturer or the coach, whatever. Is there anyone else that, you know, what else has kind of helped you along on your journey? You know, what's inspired you? Who's inspired you? Who's helped you along the way?
There's been so many, and in actual fact, that particular course I was on was a course set up by someone called Paul Check. His organisation is the Check Institute, and he started off as a physical therapist, and then very much got into all the sort of fitness, the exercise, the lifestyle, and then went much more spiritual as well. You know, looking in that mind-body relationships and, you know, law of attraction, all of those sort of things. So he was certainly a big influence in the early days. And again, you could say has obviously been a critical piece of the jigsaw puzzle in my journey, of course. But there's been so many, you know, I follow lots of personal development gurus. There's obviously the big gurus, the likes of Tony Robbins, but there's other people as well. And this was the other thing about music. I've invested thousands of pounds on my own development. I've been to different countries. I went out to Malaysia, for example, to go on a course. And a lot of those courses, they've used music. And there was one particular man I can think of now, and without giving away everything, because we've kind of been sworn to secrecy, but they set up the situation. This particular group of trainers were martial artists, and I found myself in a situation where I was on this course and I'm doing all this martial arts training, and the only experience I've got in martial arts is watching Bruce Lee videos as a youngster, and I'm there's this particular exercise where we're required in partners to basically, our partner would hold a big, punch bag thing, a big pad, and we're required to go absolutely 100% at this thing, punching, kicking, elbows, etc. And we do it for a minute, have a little break, then we do it for 2 minutes, have a little break, we do it for 3 minutes, have a little break. Right. And all the time they're blaring out this music, and it's kind of like this death metal, and I don't like that particular style of music, but it was motivational. But there was one guy called the Grand Master, and he was coming across as being a really mean dude. He was scary. I just wanted to literally run out and and go and give him mum a hug, that sort of thing. But he had this certain way that he got respect out of you, but then afterwards, what you actually found was it was all an act. He is the lovely, most genuine, kind-hearted, loving person. And I got to know him a bit throughout that course, and I've since I see his posts on social media, and I've got a lot of respect for him, because what he did was he created an environment that was conducive to us really working hard, and through that physical work we're also working on the mental side of things. That was the idea behind it, and there was lots more activities we did, but like I say, it was all him setting up the environment. But throughout that time, I just kind of felt the love, the love towards other humanity. So he was a big inspiration, and I was one of two people. There was about 60 of us in that particular in that particular area, and I was one of two people that actually won. They gave me a belt, and I think it's like a taekwondo green belt, and he awarded me this belt. We weren't allowed to speak during it. Okay, it was dead silence. I was sort of to thank you and bow, and he awarded me this belt. And afterwards, I found out it certainly wasn't due to my technical skills. It was just due to my effort that I put in with that exercise. But like I say, I sort of think quite a bit of it was down to him and the environment he created. So he would be another one of my inspirations.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes me think of when I go for a run, and you put the old earplugs in and you listen into that upbeat music to get that rhythm going. I guess it's capitalizing on that, I guess.
It is, absolutely. And everybody likes different types of music, but it's about finding the right type of music for you and what you want to achieve. So I play music if I want to concentrate. If I'm doing work on the laptop, I might play it's called Baroque type music. It's sort of classical music. I can't play anything with lyrics, otherwise I'll just start singing along to it. Other music I use to really G me up. So if I'm doing something like a sales call, it's great to actually play certain types of music before that, because we want to be energized. We want to give a good solid impression. We want to seem that we're confident, coming across confident. So I'll often play certain music. If I'm feeling a little bit worried, I'll play certain music that really raises my positive energy and makes me more vibrant. So it really is a powerful tool, music.
I think the more I think about it, the more it seems so obvious for it to be, even though whenever I've spoken about it or I've heard about what you do, it seems like almost like an odd concept, but it's not. It's actually, we do it all the time. We listen to music, we're driving, we listen to music to keep us motivated. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. It creates feelings. It's like, say, if you watch films, if you watch movies and you mute them, I mean, obviously the speaking would go as well, but if there was no music, it would be dead. You don't always notice the music playing in the background, but it is that music that's creating all those feelings, those emotions. If you watch something like a horror movie and mute the sound, it's not half as scary. It's because of all the music and the sound effects that they do to create those feelings of anxiety, nervousness, etc. So yeah, music is one of the quickest ways that we can change our state and our feelings.
That's brilliant. And you do coaching as well alongside this, and training. I mean, just tell me a little bit how that works.
Yeah, I've done various things. So I was, a little while ago, I was focusing on coaching other musicians, but I found that I was just doing too much because I've been working on big albums and I had to dedicate more time to that. But I've got a coaching training background, and the plan really going ahead is for me to incorporate, because I did a lot of public speaking. Obviously now often it's via Zoom as opposed to in person, what with COVID. But I do a lot of speaking. So the idea really going forward is to combine the speaking, the training, the coaching with the music. So looking to create events, live events ideally, where we're using music. Like I said, I've been on several courses where they've used music to great effect, and I'm looking to do that even more so within a sort of personal development way.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I might come back to that of, what's in store for you in the future. So, but let's go back a bit. So what's been, well, okay, we might touch on the whole COVID thing, but let's try and keep this sort of, what's been the last 12 months been like to you? What have you been up to? What have you been doing? What have you been planning for?
Yeah, well, the last 12 months has been exciting. I've been working on this, what was going to be one album, which kind of turned into 3 albums, 31 songs, called Empowerment Songs. I've actually been doing that now. I mean, that's available now, but I was doing that over a couple of years. So the last 12 months, I've been focusing quite a bit on that. But it's amazing how much longer it took me than I thought. But that was an idea. I had this idea of creating this album of empowerment songs, and I said, right, what I'd like to do is I'd like to involve other people, because again, there's got to be other singers, musicians out there that would like that opportunity of being part of this. Maybe they share the same vision, or they just want to be part of that big project. So I've got over 20 people, and it involves people from around the world. In actual fact, a couple of people from the US, some people from Europe, so it's not all UK based. But of course, when you're doing a big project like that, it takes a long time. There's a lot of going back and forth, and I've had a lot of people, or quite a few people, show interest and then not follow through, and some people drop out. So the odd person actually did their recording and then said, oh, I'm not happy with the way my voice sounded, and they've dropped out. So it's been a lot of challenges, and there's certainly been at times over the last 12 months I've just kind of thought, oh, this is taking too long, and what have I got myself into? But again, I've been committed. I've had that motivation, and also I've had the accountability, because I set it up that, well, I can't make it fail. I can't just stop it, because I'm accountable to all those other contributors. So we've really been working on that, and at the end of August 2020, we released it. So yeah, very, very exciting time.
Brilliant. And I will make a confession. I have bought the album and all the associated materials, but I haven't actually listened to it yet. I do apologize. It's really, so for that reason, I've no excuses, but for that reason, just give me a little sort of taster of what to expect. Obviously not playing any music on this little podcast, but just tell me what to expect. What am I going to get from listening to this album?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So there's 31 songs, lots of different genres. So there's some rock stuff in there, there's some ballads, there's some pop stuff, there's a song that sounds sort of country-ish, there's a song that sounds like it's from musical theatre. So lots of different genres. Lots of different voices, of course, so there's lots of variety. And again, I just wanted to be able to write without restrictions. So I just, got a song idea. I thought, right, that sounds good. That can become part of the album. And of course, again, we listen to different types of music depending upon what we want to achieve and what mood we're in. So I think there's definitely something for each situation and every person out there. But all the songs have got that personal development theme. So for example, the first song is called Welcome to the Real Me. And if you take a look at the lyrics, and I never remember the lyrics to my songs, I must admit, I write the things, but I can never remember them. But it's all about saying, do you know what? Maybe for the listeners out there, maybe you've wanted to do something. Maybe you're an introvert. Maybe you're someone that's got a secret passion. Maybe you're a closet singer or something like that. You've done the odd session on a karaoke, but no one's really heard you sing. Welcome to the Real Me is about acknowledging that you are special, that you do have gifts, that you are good enough. And it's basically saying, well, welcome, this is me. And that's why I wanted it to be the first track, apart from the fact that I really like that particular song. I wanted it to be the first track to sort of say, welcome, here I am. This is a real version of James Dand, someone who's maybe being vulnerable here, saying, this is what I'm about. And I'm hoping that message inspires other people. And so far, so good, because again, people have been sort of saying, yeah, really connected to that. Lyrics are so good, those sort of things. And that's the idea of it. You could, of course, just listen to the music and enjoy the music, but you're still actually getting those positive lyrics actually going into your head subconsciously as well, so they can sort of change your thoughts and your beliefs over time. But if people can really connect with the music, then it can really have some positive benefits for them.
That's brilliant. I am looking forward to listening to it. It's my bad, I haven't listened to it yet.
That's fine. Well, you found nothing wrong with it at the minute, so I'll settle for that.
I mean, you just mentioned that you've had some feedback. I mean, has the feedback that you've been getting from, has it been good? Has it gone?
It's been positive. Yeah, it has been positive. Again, there's a few people sort of similar to yourself sometimes, and I've done it with loads of things. We buy something, I bought loads of courses, and then we don't get around to actually listening to it or doing it. And being a father myself, I know that I used to listen to more music before the kids were around. Now I'm listening to nursery rhymes and whatever they're putting on. But yeah, no, it's definitely been positive, which is good. And I think again, it's all about, if there are other businesses out there, it's all about finding the right type of person, because not everyone's going to relate to it. Of course, it might not be their time, their moment, but certain people will really relate to it. Probably people that are quite similar to me. If anyone suffered from low self-esteem, low confidence, mental health problems, anything like that, they'll certainly be able to relate to it. But it's certainly not exclusive to those people.
I think I said it before, it seems so right and it seems normal, but it just sounds so different. And I really, really like that. I think it's just fascinating. So it's taken a long time to actually to get to this position.
Yeah, it's been, in my naivety, I thought it would take a few months and job done. And, I think this is lessons for everyone, that if you're creating a big project, something that's worthwhile in your life, you've got to be resilient with it. There will be challenges. I started to get quite a bit of interest to start with. It kind of snowballed. I had a few musicians that I contacted and they passed me on to someone else. So it was looking good. And as I said, it was starting off as just one album. And because I was obviously writing songs, and because I got quite a bit of interest to start with in those people who wanted to be part of it, that sort of led to 2 albums, and then it led to 3 albums. But then sort of what happened was some people dropped out. Some people weren't getting the paperwork back to me and things like that. I sort of had to boot the odd person off because it had been weeks and weeks or months and they just hadn't, replied to get the paperwork back. But you find this, you've got to bear in mind that no one is going to be as excited about your vision as you are. And you've just kind of got to accept that and know that there will be people that let you down. And again, maybe through no fault of their own. And I've had the odd person. In fact, today, I've just been speaking to someone over Facebook. She'd actually recorded a song And then she said, do you know what, James? I've realized I need to be doing this myself. I need to get myself out there as a singer-songwriter. She was a vocal coach, and she said, do you know what? I'm actually, if it's okay with you, I'm going to step out from this project. She recognized that she needed to do her own thing and follow her heart. And I had nothing but respect. You know, it was sad to see her go, but I respected that, because obviously what she realized was me and my vision wasn't quite as powerful as her and her vision. And that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, that was actually what I was going to ask you, that it's almost as if that the project itself became a personal development journey for you and the others involved. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think definitely. And I think if you can get involved in something where you are learning, you are growing, brilliant. You know, I'm very, very connected with it. The other people, I mean, you know, there's been a couple of singers a couple of people that feature on the album who aren't musicians. They aren't singers, but they can sing. You know, I've got some people on the album who are musicians. They're trying to achieve success within the music industry, and some people are just so thrilled to have that opportunity. And when I was choosing it's quite a hard process, because you imagine that I've got a singer and they might send you an example of their voice singing a certain type of song, and I've got X number of songs and I've got X number of singers, and I need to sort of try and allocate songs that suit their voice, etc. So, you know, sometimes there's a little bit of toing and froing. But for a lot of the people, I've given them a song and they've really resonated with that song. Again, with the lyrics, and they found that they've connected with it. So that has helped them from a development point of view. And in actual fact, you know, I said about that lady who stepped out because she wanted to do her own thing. Well, she was actually at the time living with someone else who's on the album. And this other girl, Melanie, said, I want that song. You know, Connie's done this song. She's recorded this song. She's no longer doing it. Can I have it, please? Because again, that really resonated with her. That song was called Inside Me. And that really resonated with her. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think everyone that's been involved, or certainly the majority of people that have been involved, have found that it's done them some good as well from a personal development point of view.
That's so good. That's so cool that you know, you're creating something to help people with their personal development, yet everyone involved has also developed in their journey as well. I think that's just I mean,
thank you.
Staying on that theme, what would be your biggest takeaways from doing this project? You know, what would be the things that you could, you know, share with people listening or watching this now? What could you give back and say, look, this is my top tips. This is what I learned from this journey.
I think that there's so many, to be honest. First of all, if you've got something that you want to do or something you want to achieve, get started. You know, that's the big thing, because if there's any perfectionists out there, you know, don't wait for perfection, because you'll be waiting, you know, all the time. Okay. So I didn't know exactly how it would pan out. I didn't know exactly everyone, you know, who was going to be on the album. I didn't know all the ins and outs of it, but I made a start. I said, right, this is my idea. Let's start working on it. So that would be the first thing. Get started. And you can get started really small. Getting started could be a bit of research on Google. It could be something as simple as that. But if you've got something you want to achieve, something you want to do, you want to break out away from the hamster wheel or whatever it is, you know, just get started. I've already said about being resilient, and you really have got to be. And, you know, my mindset certainly isn't perfect. Especially struggled a bit over lockdown with, you know, family being here all the time. You know, it's been hard. But again, recognize that things won't be perfect. Recognize that there will all be challenges. And if you have this sort of belief that the universe works for you, not against you. So, you know, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And what that basically means is every time you get a challenge, you can learn something from it. You can grow, but it's up to you. And earlier on, Graham, you know, we were saying about that question that I say changes my life on that course. But in actual fact, every day we have choices that we make. Often we're sort of working on autopilot, so we don't recognize those choices. But every day we have choices. It could be something as simple as choosing to give your husband or wife a cuddle or a kiss or something like that, you know, because we can get into good habits or we can get out of good habits. So every day we have those small little choices that can add up. So be resilient. Recognize that, you know, although there will be challenges, you still can choose how you respond to those challenges. Not easy, but you can still respond choose how to respond to those. And the other thing I would say is, again, I mean, there's loads of things. I could keep going on this for hours, but I won't do. But one thing I looked for is win-win situations. We've kind of alluded to this. So I basically said, well, I've got this idea. How can I get as many winning situations as possible? So is it a win for me? Yeah, I'm doing what I enjoy doing, and I enjoy inspiring people and thinking that I'm making a positive impact. Is it winning for the other contributors? Yes, you know, they're getting an opportunity to be part of that. Is it and they also get some money based upon sales. Is it a win for the people listening? Yeah, they're getting benefits from that. And I'm also going to be raising money for charity and things like that as well. So if you can, always look for those win-win situations. As more wins you can get, I think the more successful you're going to be.
That's just fantastic advice. And as I said, as you say, that there's probably hundreds of other little bits that you could go into and all the rest of it. But I guess obviously listening to the album would be another one to actually to help people with these kinds of things. I mean,
definitely.
I think in terms of, you very briefly touched on it, and I don't want this to be about the COVID lockdown thing, but how did you find that whole period? Or, you know, I know we're pretty much almost still in it, but how would that impact the album and family life? I mean, how did you deal with those kinds of things?
Well, it certainly slowed things down. There's no doubt about it. So because I still work a couple of days as a college lecturer, and there were some days where I was working remotely from college. My wife had to go back into school to look after the key worker children, so she was out, and I'm trying to homeschool my 9-year-old daughter and look after my 1-year-old son whilst I'm trying to work remotely and keep this album going. So it was tough. For me, the not going out wasn't too bad because I'm naturally an introvert. I'm fine with my own space, but that was the problem. I didn't have my own space. So it was starting to grate on me. So I think, once again, if we put a positive spin on it, COVID and the whole lockdown situation can teach you about you. I'm hoping that everyone has become a little bit more aware of who they are, how they like to work, what their strengths are, what their areas for improvement are, you know, because again, it reinforced to me that I like my own space. And when everything's too manic and everyone's there, you know, I struggle with that a little bit, you know, having that all the time. So I think, yeah, what we can take from it is, again, we can learn things from that whole experience about ourselves.
Yeah, that ties into everything that you've been talking about as well. That whole, you know, getting started, the fear of failure, and, you know, learning about yourself and taking a positive view of it rather than just saying, oh no, it's all mucked up and I'm going to walk away from it. It's right, what's the next challenge? And I really,
Yeah.
and it certainly has been for me. I think I've changed a lot in a very short space of time, positively as well. I think
Yeah. And if I can just say something, Graham, as well, there'd certainly be people that say, oh, this positive thinking, you know, it's a load of rubbish. I want to clear something up here. Sometimes, you know, from a simple point of view, sometimes if any event or circumstance happens, we can either choose to focus on the negative or the positive. Okay, so again, once again, it's a choice. We're not saying whether it's right or wrong to choose either of those, but we can choose to focus on the negative or the positive. And I will just say a little caveat as well. You know, so many times I would have focused on the negative, and I still will focus on the negative a lot as well. So please don't think I'm preaching or perfect or anything like that. But the other thing about it is, I don't believe in just being positive and saying, oh, everything's rosy, okay, because it isn't. Some things hurt us, some things are hard, and we sometimes have to recognize when we haven't achieved, and recognize, okay, I'm not good at that. Maybe I am overweight. I do need to change my lifestyle. Whatever it is, we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that there are some negative issues, if you like, but then the positive comes from when we actually take ownership of that and say, well, do you know what? I'm going to take responsibility for that. I'm going to, and responsibility is about the ability to respond. So if I'm able to respond to that, that's where the positive comes in. Okay, it's saying, well, I'm not happy with the situation of where I am at. That I recognize as being negative in my mind, but I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to turn it into a positive. And I'm actually going to use that pain to motivate me towards what I want to achieve. So I just wanted to sort of say that it's not all about everything's rosy all the time.
It just made me think of some of my own experiences where, I dealt with somebody that was very difficult. They were, in terms of hierarchy, they were above me when I was working for somebody. And, and I really, I don't want to say the word hate, but I really disliked this person immensely. But that almost was the push for me to move away from that. Well, not away from that, but towards what I wanted. And I'm almost grateful for that pain now, because that was the final push that I needed to move forward. So what you've just said there, that makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Definitely. Yeah, there's two motivators. One is pleasure and one is pain, and you can use them both to good effect.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we kind of briefly touched on it earlier. What's next for James Dand? We've got this, you're working all these, these few years on this album, all the 3 albums and all the material that goes with it. And, the album's released. What are you doing right now? And what's next for you?
Apart from sleeping, yeah. After all of that, yeah. So, well, it's funny because at the start of 2020, I came up with this big business plan, and a lot of that was based around the speaking and the live events. And of course, again, we had to shift with that. But the plan is still to, as well as just promote the albums and have those albums doing some good in the world, the plan is still to create live events, and in the short term it might have to be a little bit more online stuff, but again, I'd love to create these live events where they're personal development based events. They might be geared towards some businesses or whatever, but personal development based events where I'm speaking, I'm training people, but there's a lot of music involved within those exercises as well. So and that's something I actually did as part of the albums. I added on a load of resources, some of the best personal development exercises that have really helped me. So it's sort of using certain exercises like that with music. And I don't know how you feel about this, Graham, but you can't really beat the live events. Certainly there's advantages to doing things via Zoom, of course, and online courses, but when you get in that live environment, I've just seen so many transformations and experienced so many transformations myself that I don't think I would have got on my own sitting in front of a computer. I think being at those live events, that's when really you can really expand your comfort zone, and then there's no quite going back to where you were before. So that's what I want to create.
Yeah, and I guess that's both sides as well, that when you're up on that stage, if you like, and you're that cathartic feeling from being there, but also the audience, the live audience, there's a connection in there and stuff like that. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
For me, just I know we're talking about you, but very quickly, that I had the opportunity to do a TEDx talk this year, but obviously because of everything that happened, it all got postponed and sort of cancelled and all the rest of it. But it is going to happen next year now, which is great. And one of the things that was being suggested about doing it virtually and things like that, and I think a lot of people that were involved in it said, no, we don't want to do it that way, because it's going to take something away from that live event. The idea of being able to share a powerful story and help other people in a live audience was just too much to sort of, to turn it into a virtual event. So, I totally.
Absolutely. You get so you can really relate to other people a lot more when you're actually in person with them. And if I may share a story, this was again one of the things that really helped me along my journey. I was on a course, it was in Germany, and it was kind of, although I'd been a lecturer for many years, so I knew, I'd done public speaking multiple times and workshops, etc. I was on this course as part of the package, and it was kind of a train the trainer, so you can learn how to be a trainer on stage. And a few of us got the opportunity to lead part of that course, and I was one of those chosen people, which was really nice. And I'm on the stage, and I've done part of that training, and there's about 300 people in the room, and the lead trainer of that course started to interview me a bit on stage, and I was saying about what I wanted to achieve, and this was before the idea of the Empowerment Songs albums. And obviously I can't remember exactly what I was saying, but obviously through what I was saying, he noted that there was still some fear there. I still wasn't really going full throttle, and he was sort of prompting me to, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I went to the front of the stage and I said, from now on, I am playing big. And in fact, I'd already actually been receiving a standing ovation, but everyone again is on their feet, 300 people, all clapping their hands. And I've got tears streaming from my eyes. Again, that sort of love and that respect, it was an absolutely amazing feeling. And once it had all died down, again, the trainer sort of said, right, James, you've obviously got tears in your eyes. How many people in the audience have currently got tears in their eyes? And again, probably half, at least a third of people put their hands up. And I say this story because, one, that was great for my development. But again, what I did there was I was vulnerable. I just pushed myself out of my comfort zone. And by me doing that, I wasn't doing anything special. But what I'd done is, obviously, those people had resonated with me. They connected with me. And again, I'd created an emotional response in them and somehow inspired them. And it was either a day later or a couple of days later on that course, I was just about to, we'd been on a break, and I was just about to go back into the room. And this lady spotted me, and she said, "Oh, James, I'm glad I found you. I've been looking for you this last day or a couple of days." She said, what you did and what you said on that stage really resonated with me. Wow. I've been telling my friends about you. Can I have a selfie with you, please? And I was like, wow. But the main thing is, from this story, do you know what? Because I'd had the opportunity to go on stage, I did it. I'd been vulnerable, I'd been courageous. That inspired other people. And then I got that back, because by her saying that to me, she's now inspired me. It's a two-way process. And going back to what we were originally talking about, I think in a live environment, you can get that much more. So that was, again, another one of those real significant events in my life.
Amazing. I can't even think of any words to say to that, really, but that is inspirational to me, I think is fair to say.
Thank you. And I'm sure you'll do the same when you do your TEDx talk as well.
I hope so. I will take inspiration from your experiences of being out on stage with 300-400 people. It's a scary prospect, but I think it's exactly the same for you. If my thought process was that even if it's just one person in that audience of 300-400 people, and I can make them think about something slightly differently, or go, do you know what, that sounds like my life, and maybe there is an opportunity for me to grow, then I've done my job. And I think that's what's so powerful about it. And it sounds so much like what you're doing with your music and the empowerment songs and everything else. It's just brilliant. Just to sort of, we're coming to the sort of end, but how do people find you? What's the best way to get in contact with James Dand, and how to find out about your album? Obviously, you've got a website. Just tell us how to get hold of you.
Yeah, so website is inneranthem.com. So that's my business name, Inner Anthem. So people can find me there, but I'm probably mainly on Facebook. So find me, look for James Dand, look for Inner Anthem. I'm also on LinkedIn. I've got my YouTube channel. And what I will say as well, Graham, is if you are listening to this and somehow I have resonated with you, feel free to get in contact. And the reason I say that is because, again, I've already alluded to the fact that I've had certain mentors throughout my life, certain people that have inspired me. So if you want to have a chat, I'm happy to do that. I might not always respond straight away, but, you know, send us a message or something like that. Happy to have a chat, because I know that that's been beneficial to me. So yeah, seek me out. Maybe we can put some links in the show notes or something.
Oh yeah, definitely. There will be links in there. I'll even put some links on the video version as well. So yeah, James, it's been brilliant having you and chatting to you. And you say you're inviting others to come and have a chat with you. Well, I can assure you, everybody that's watching or listening to this, I've felt inspired by just chatting with you today. It's been a lovely conversation. I mean, just before we kind of wrap things up, is there anybody out there that you would like to thank? Anybody you want to mention? Any sort of final words of wisdom?
I'm going to thank my family, as most people do with these kind of things. But, you know, my parents have always been so supportive. They've been like rocks throughout my life. I'd like to, you know, thank my wife in terms of, and again, here's a bit of a tip for other people. You've got to recognize that sometimes maybe you are listening to this and again, you've got a dream. But again, I already said it might not be other people's dreams, and it can be hard when you start to change and you start to develop yourself. And if the other significant people in your life aren't doing that, it can cause a bit of friction. It can cause discomfort. And, you know, I was finding that for a while with my wife when I was going on this journey, and, you know, we were sort of struggling for a while. So I just want to, you know, thank her for her understanding. And, you know, every time she looks after the kids when I'm doing my music or whatever I'm doing, and also thank my children. You know, Ella, my daughter, is my biggest fan as well. So if I can give a little shout out to her, that would be great. But my advice, you have a gift. I believe that each and every one of us has a gift. I believe that our intention should be to find out what that gift is and use that gift, because I believe the universe has given you a gift, whatever it is. Try and use it, because when you use it, you help other people use their gifts. So that's my words of wisdom at the end.
James, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Do you know what? I think we could probably go on for another couple of hours, to be honest.
There can always be a part two.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think we should do that. I'd like to sort of, you know, maybe come back in 6 months, see how the album's gone, and, you know, see how things have developed in the world. We don't know what's going to happen about doing live events and things like that. So it would be really great to see you again. I mean, we all see each other anyway, because we network and we see each other online. I've really, really enjoyed today, James. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. No, really appreciate it. Thank you ever so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.